Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about reading music on guitar. And I think the easiest explanation of reading music on guitar is from the Hal Leonard guitar method. And I recommend my students get all 3 volumes in one. It's probably like 20 bucks. What does this say? It says it's $17. So getting all 3 of them at once is just a smart way to go about it, because you can start working on it from the beginning, but then you can jump ahead and look at other things, look at chords. There's tab in book 2. There's exercises at the end of the book. So you can do a lot of jumping around. But I think it's the greatest way to learn guitar from the ground up, especially when you're trying to learn how to read music. Reading music and guitar, I think, is not as straightforward as it is on piano or on some other instruments. And the simple reason is we can play this E on the bottom line of the treble clef. We can play that in 3 different spots. We can play that on the 12th fret of the 6th string. We could play that 7th fret of the 5th string, or we could play it on the 2nd fret of the D string, the 4th string. So obviously when you're first learning music and learning how to read music on guitar, they're only going to teach you the notes in the first position. So when the first position is mentioned, that usually means not beyond the 3rd fret. So if I have my guitar, so we have 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret. So the majority of the first book, it doesn't go past those 3 frets there. So that really does limit out some of the notes that you can play. So music is divided, when you're reading music, it's divided in between lines and spaces. And on the staff, we've got the lines, and then the treble clef. It's the prettiest looking clef. Treble clef is what the guitar reads. And that tells us that the bottom line is E. More specifically, this little circular part of the treble clef on the bottom, that circle goes through G. So when you're trying to do that in your notebooks at home, you can try to make a pretty treble clef. And I encourage all students of music to just practice drawing a treble clef. Because it's a really fun symbol to draw. You can do it in really one pen stroke, and you want your music to be easily read. As students of mine know that I tend to write really quick and sometimes can write really sloppily. So you always want to look good. Music is on lines and spaces. So when I was taught music, we were told the lines stand for "every good boy deserves fudge." I think that's really stupid, but it still stuck with me over these 20-some years. So I think that that's a good way to memorize the lines. Every good boy deserves fudge. If you come up with something else that sticks in your head, go for it. But every good boy deserves fudge. It's simple, easy to remember. And then in the space, you have face. It spells out face from the bottom up. F-A-C-E. And what is actually the most important thing to mention is this is just the alphabet. It's going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. In the musical alphabet, we have A to G, and then it starts over. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So when you have these lines, E, G, B, D, F, that's almost like leapfrogging, meaning we have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And then the notes keep on going on. If we were to play onwards, we will learn we've got G, A, B, C, D, keep on going up. And then also we can read ledger lines down here. And then so music is divided between bar lines. A small group of notes is usually a measure, and you have a division of the bar line that separates the measure. It's just so it's easy to read, and we can all bracket it in an easier visual way that makes sense. Almost all of the music that we play is in 4/4. Well, that means that there are 4 quarter notes per measure. Okay, and we'll get to quarter notes in a minute. But when you have the top number, that is how many notes are in the measure, and then the bottom is the quality of the note. So 4/4 stands for 4 quarter notes. But let's say we were in 3/8. That would mean that there are 3/8 notes per measure. And really, in the first part of this book, we are only dealing with 4/4 or 3/4. So 4 quarter notes per measure or 3 quarter notes per measure. And in the first half of the book, we really only have 3 types of subdivisions. So subdivisions are how long we play the notes for. And so a whole note basically just looks like a donut there. When you play a whole note, it rings out for 4 beats. So if I were to play a whole note, and I'll just keep on counting, I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I play it once every 4 beats, and it's a continuous pulse, so I got to play it every 4 beats, and I count it out to make sure I'm right. So the half note, half of a whole, is 2. So a half note looks like a donut with a stem on it. A half note gets 2 beats. So if I was playing the whole note, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still counting 4 because there's 4 beats per measure. So that's just usually wherever we're practicing together, we're usually dealing with 4 unless I explicitly say this is in 3. And so the most common note, the most common pulse is the quarter note. And so that's just playing every beat. So when we have 4 quarter notes per measure, that means you're playing a beat, or one note per beat, 4 notes per measure. So that becomes, here's the whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can even have smaller subdivisions of that. There's the space between the beats. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's also 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All I did was divide the quarter beat in half, and I get 2 smaller beats, which is the 8th note. And then you can divide that even further. You can divide it into 3, which makes it a triplet. And I always just say triplet, 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 triplet. I often will substitute words for difficult rhythms, so you can just mentally and physically kind of understand what you're doing, and your body will respond to it a little better. And you can even do 16th notes, which would be 4 notes per beat. And you'd count it 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1, 2, 3, 4. Triplet, 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 triplet. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of started counting a little faster there. But whole notes, half notes, and then quarter notes. And so when we turn the page here, it starts out with just 3 notes per string. And it continues like that for a couple pages. So you learn the first 3 notes on the first string and the first 3 notes on the second string. Let's go ahead and just glance through notes on the first string. we have E, F, and G. E is the first string open. So if you're looking at the guitar, first string is the smallest string, the highest sounding string. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So when you see an E, a note in this top space here, it's telling you to play the first string open, meaning you're not going to press down on any of the other frets. And they show you a pretty good diagram of the other two notes. For instance, F, which is on the top line here. So when you see a note with a line going through it on the top line, that's F. So you put your finger on the first fret of the first string. G is on top of the first line, meaning we have notes in the space, notes on the line, and this is above the line. Does that change the note at all? No, it's just telling us what exact pitch we have to play. And that is on the third fret of the first string. So the three notes that we have are E, F, G. So I encourage you just to try to play E, F, G, F, E, F, G, F, E, F, G, F. It's a good exercise to do. And if you just think that's fun, you can do it on all the strings. Just open 1, 3, 1, and then go into the next string. And then on these first three examples here, it has you playing whole notes. So going E, F, G, F, E. And you hold those out for 4 beats. So E, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4. Done. And same goes with the half note. E, E, F, F, G, 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 F, E. Okay, and the last beat is a whole note, but the rest of them are half notes. So we have E, 2, E, 4, F, 2, F, 4, G, 2, G, 4, G, 2, F, 4, 2, 3, 4. That last note was an E, but I just got tongue-tied there. And then last but not least, we have quarter notes in example 3. And so we're just playing one note per beat, starting with E, F, and G, and then going back down. So if we do it together, we'll go 1, 2, ready, play. E, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, G, G, F, F, E, E, E. And then you're done. And then on the next page here, we've got just more examples. Little exercises. 4, 5, and 6 are just all three of those notes in different orders. And then number 7 here, it's telling you that you can play when you're just like music reading is just like reading in a book. You read from left to right, and then you go down, and then do the same. Read left to right. Okay? And then I encourage you just to play through all of those on your own. And then if you can do that by yourself, then go to the next page. Next page is the same exact idea, but now we're on the second string. We're still using open, first fret, and third fret. But now it's on the second string, which is the B string. So when you play the second string open, it's a B note. The sound it makes is at the frequency of a B. And these are a little trickier because they're in the middle of the treble clef now, middle of the staff. So the middle line, there's 5 lines, and in the middle is the second string open, B. And then the next line, or I'm sorry, this is the second space from the top, is C. You play that. First fret, second string. And then D is the second line from the top. Third fret. I always encourage students, when they're stuck on a note, I ask them, is it on a line or is it on a space? Because if it's in a space, you can spell face from the bottom up, from the bottom space, and figure out the note. If it's a line, you can do every good boy deserves fudge. Okay, so we're just going to skip kind of through these because these are the exact same, just B, C, D, and then back down. Just those 3 notes in different rhythms. And then on the next page, it has 12 and 13, which are still exercises, just those 3 notes, B, C, D, in different orders. But then right here, moving from string to string, it combines the first and the second string. And so at number 14 right here, it tells you the 6 notes we've learned from lowest to highest. B, C, D, E, F, G. B, C, D, E, F, G. And then in this 15, it combines both of the strings. And then in the world beat, it's a new song that has all 6 strings. Or I'm sorry, all 6 notes that we played. It's only got the 2 strings, the E string and the B string, the first and second string. And once you learn the first 6 notes on the guitar, on the first 2 strings, you can play Ode to Joy. And there's another song here, a blues progression for you. But Ode to Joy, actually, there's not even a B in it. So there's only 5 notes in it. It's just C, D, E, F, G. And so you're probably wondering, why are there other letter names for some of these notes? Some of them are right, but some of them aren't. Like this says G, but it's playing an E there. Well, that's because those letterings are for chords, for another guitar player to play the chords, okay? So don't get confused by that when you see that in some other of the songs. And it doesn't really happen in the first 2 pages, but when you get to Ode to Joy, it'll have different letters for corresponding with different notes. So right here it says G, and it tells you to play a D note, but that's telling the other guitar player to play a chord, while the other guitarist plays a D. So I hope this is helpful to you, and this would probably conclude the second lesson. In this book, it just keeps on going in that same pace. Notes on the 3rd string, and it just does 2 notes, G and A, and then it gives you the scale of all the notes that we've played, and then it even has a different way of visualizing it. So I really do love this book. If you're a beginning guitar student, this is the book that I have my studio get, and it's also what I recommend most students if they want to either learn it on guitar on their own, they want to learn to read music, or if they just want to learn the basics. This is really got it made super easy. Thanks.